Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
So please welcome Amber Sawyer.
Hi. John is muted.
Okay, so I
There we
first
go.
met Amber when she was a guest speaker at the Paradise Rotary Club about 6 months before the fire, and she was making the rounds and went to the high school, and just a really sweet young lady, and she sung the national anthem for us in Paradise that day, like she just did for you. And she's quite a unique story. And so, Amber, I've got some questions to kind of get the conversation started, but you can go off in any direction you'd like.
Okay.
So, growing up in Paradise, what was your musical influences there? What was it like, and how did you first get involved in music?
Well, first of all, hi everybody. I can't see you, but you can see me. So I just wanted to say hello. For me, hands down, the totality of the answer to that question is Bob Schofield and Jack Woodard. They were my biggest influences, I think, in Paradise musically. I was in the Paradise High School band, and I really felt that Bob Schofield was like a mentor to me, like a big brother to me, as opposed to, a teacher or my band teacher. And Mr. Woodard, I have a hard time still calling him Jack Woodard. It's just like Mr. Woodard is stuck in my head. He taught me so much about musically, and being in the Top Cats, the Paradise Top Cats, was probably one of the most exciting times of my life, early on in my musical career. They were huge influences to me, and growing up in Paradise, I mean, it was easy to fall right into that. My favorite things to do was Thursday night jazz band practice, and when we would do the Gold Nugget Parade and we got into our marching band costumes and all of that stuff, and then being able to sing with the ladies choir and Top Cats and the mixed chorus, it was just all hugely influential on, I think, who I am even today. So, did that answer your question?
That was perfect.
Okay.
Now, I know you were in Paradise when the campfire hit.
Yes, sir.
How did that affect you and your family, and decisions, how it led to decisions down the road?
Sure. Well, if I could be so bold to say that I'm quite sure that it affected me and my family in a lot of the same ways it probably affected a lot of other people and their families. It was devastating. It was difficult. It was hard. It was all of the other words that I can't think of in this moment. It was everything that you hope not to happen. It was everything that you hope you never have to do, making choices about what to grab, what's important, trying to decide where to go, when to leave. I mean, all of those things that just the way that that day played out were just unanswered questions. Even in the moment that you make the decision to grab what you think is important, you still question that, after you leave. It affected us greatly. I think what affected me on a deeper level was seeing everybody collectively going through the same thing. It gets to a point where it's almost similar to what has happened, I guess, with COVID and COVID-19 and stuff. You watch everybody collectively going through the same thing, and it's like everyone sets their political differences and their, morale differences and things aside, and you just realize that everybody is trying to figure out how to not, be in the position that you're in, how to get out safely, and how to make sure that everybody and your family is okay. I will say it was refreshing also in a way in the aftermath to see everybody come together, like I said, and setting aside things that just didn't matter in that moment, and helping each other out and lending a hand. You really find out, in my opinion, who a person really is, in the midst of a tragedy. How do they show up for you, and how do you show up for them? So in a lot of ways, it was awful and devastating, and I think it also opened a lot of eyes and a lot of opportunities for a lot of people, including myself. Sorry, that was such a long answer.
No, that was perfect.
Okay.
So by that time you had moved down to Los Angeles and had started your singing career. What led you to audition for The Voice, and what was that whole process like of being involved in The Voice? And take us from beginning to end, if you can.
Gosh, it was quite the extensive process for me. It was a quite natural transition. I think any time a singer comes down to a big city like this, where things like that, are shot, television shows and whatnot, being in Hollywood, I will tell you that the season that I made it in, season 14, was actually my 4th time auditioning. So as they say, third time is a charm. It was the 4th time for me. And I kept, I will say, I kept sort of asking production, like, why am I here? I've auditioned for you at this time four times. So, I am the same person. I have the same story, and, you either know if you want me or you don't. And I think it was just timing. And I think also, a lot of those shows have types of quotas that they have to fill and whatnot, and maybe they had in previous seasons a bunch of people that they felt were similar to me. I personally don't think there's anybody that's similar to me, but understanding the process of television and how everything works, my 4th time was the time that I got in. And to sum up the entire experience from start to my finish, it was training ground. It was learning ground for me. It was an opportunity to expose myself to a vast number of people that maybe didn't know who I was previous to that. And it was an opportunity for me to capitalize on the exposure. And I looked at it that way going in. I never went in with the mentality like, I'm gonna win this. I was open to receiving that if that happened, but truthfully, the contracts in those types of shows can be so stringent that my goal was really to just get in, take advantage of the platform, exposure-wise, gain as much knowledge as I could of anything I didn't know about the industry, and get out and go about my business and my career. I never placed my entire identity or my value in my career on that opportunity, but I knew that it was a good opportunity to take advantage of, to add to my list of things I was already working on. But it was a wonderful experience. I know a lot of people have had bad experiences with shows like that. I had a great experience. It was an opportunity to see what things could really look like as an artist, you know, when resources and money and obstacles aren't an issue. And they set everything for you on a table and you just sit down and you eat, you know, so to speak. And it was wonderful to be in that space and in that energy and see what it could really be. So yeah, I had a great time. I would do it again in a heartbeat.
Any funny moments with any of the judges?
Yeah, lots of those. Adam is just as cute in person as he looks on TV. So just know that when you see the show. In addition to Blake was absolutely a gentleman. He gave me that, you know, country gentleman vibe and energy from jump. And Kelly is also everything in person that she sort of puts herself out there to be. I think we have that in common. She's very authentic. She's very real and genuine. You know, we had a real sisterly connection. We laughed a lot. You know, we had a silly time, I guess, together. You know, she joked around with my sister. Like, it was a really great experience. Alicia as well. She had some very nice things to say to me on the side that weren't on camera. And it's those moments that you wish like somebody was accidentally recording so you could look back and, like, you know, really sink into what they were saying to you. But I'll cherish those moments forever. To me, not so much because they are celebrities, but because, you know, at some point, we all realize that we're humans, right? Like, even these celebrities that we look up to and idolize, like, they're human too. And so at some point they were young, or they were, you know, at a point in their career where they weren't known yet. And it's that energy between someone who has pushed past that barrier and gotten to a level of success, so they know what it really looks like and what it really takes, and the person who is attempting to achieve that. So those moments between us, with me and any of the coaches, are really precious to me, and I hang on to those things because they saw something, you know. And so if there's ever a day, full transparency, where I don't feel it or I don't see it, I often reflect back on those moments, and it helps remind myself, you know, that I'm still here and I still have a purpose, and that, you know, I am good enough and that I can be in the count, you know. So yeah.
Okay. So you're a marvelous interview, by the way.
Oh, thanks.
So since then, where has your career gone? What are you doing now? What kinds of things are you doing that you never thought you would be ever doing?
You know, it's interesting. I think the expectation is that after you do something like television or something like that, that everything somehow changes, or that, you know, I think the expectation is even that all of a sudden I'm now famous and that I've got a bunch of money and I'm living in a mansion in Hollywood somewhere. Obviously, that is not the case. I think I'm doing pretty well for myself, and I think I'm quite proud of the achievements that I've made along the way. I still have so much further I want to go. Some things that I never thought that I would be doing that I've done since the show. I did a residency. I've done it twice now, but in 2018, in August, I left to go to a little island in the middle of the ocean it's off the coast of Seoul in South Korea. It's called Jeju. And I did a residency there for 3 months. And so what that means is that I basically, the short of the long is that I got paid to do what I love every night. I got to eat amazing Korean food and meet a lot of Korean families. And, you know, they receive you so well over there. They think that all Americans are like Beyonce. So I just went with it, and I was like, yeah, I'm Beyonce, you know. And we had a great time. My favorite moments, you know, in performing even are interacting with an audience or interacting with the people that I'm entertaining. And so oftentimes it was families on vacation, and we were the pool party, so we got to perform right next to the pool. So I would get to often like kneel down and like sing directly to these beautiful South Korean children, and it was just such an amazing experience. It's those types of moments also that I really hold precious, because you realize that things like language and culture are no longer a barrier. And it's like, even though I couldn't really fully speak their language and they couldn't fully understand mine, they knew the words to the songs. And we had this, moments of connection, not knowing who each other were, but, just being able to connect over music. Music really is universal. So I would say that's probably one of my favorite opportunities I've had since The Voice. Some other things, I'm still touring, well, not now at the moment because of COVID, but still those types of things are still on the horizon, working on a lot of new music, working on some new endeavors as well, some ways to just sort of expand my ever expanding brand, working on, things like a book, Quiet as It's Kept, working on things like, I just tapped into the voiceover industry. So I just actually got my first official professional voiceover gig a couple of weeks ago. And I've done some things in the past for friends and colleagues, but this was like my first, thing where I actually submitted and was chosen and was hired and paid and all of that. So I'm excited to learn more and just see what else might be possible for me.
Okay. So kind of a follow-up question to that, the experiences that you've had, can you talk about what advice you would give to the kids or grandkids of Rotarians if they wanted to get into the music industry? What are the to-dos and what are the to-don'ts?
Oof. Now that list is probably really long, John, and so I'm going to try to narrow it down. But I think about that question like almost like, what do I wish somebody would have told me, when I was younger and was interested in music? I don't know if I have all the to-dos and to-don'ts figured out. I kind of learned that as I go. I would say the biggest thing that I think is most important is the cultivation of self. And I hate to sound super deep in that, but I think if I would have started really cultivating who I was as a human and as a person earlier, or really cultivating, what I felt my purpose was underneath all of the music, maybe I would have gotten to some of the things that I've done a little sooner. And I think for me, it wasn't necessarily a mistake. It was just, all I knew was that I loved performing and I loved singing. I didn't care how, when, where I did it. I just wanted to do that. Matter of fact, there was a long time I just wanted to stand behind someone's curtain and just sing. I didn't even care about the visual aspect. I didn't think about writing songs or producing myself or marketing myself or managing myself or being the songwriter, the producer, the engineer, the mixer, all of those things that we now, living in the world that we do, sort of have to be as independent artists. So I think I wish somebody would have also told me to dive into the production side a little bit more and learn how to, use things like this, home microphones and home studios, and how to record myself and dive into the artistry, as opposed to, what I really focused on was just becoming the best performer that I could be and the best vocalist. I just wanted to wow everybody with that. And I'm proud of that. But in a way, like, I think if I could tell somebody young who thought that this was what they wanted to do, I would say dive headfirst in. And if you live in a small town also, maybe this isn't the best thing to say, but I would say go where your passion is. Go where that passion is cultivated and fed into. And a lot of times, small towns are beautiful. I hold Paradise super close for that reason. But I needed to get out of the Paradise Chico area in order to really level up and be able to have some of the opportunities that I've had. And I wished I would have done that sooner, you know, while I hold all that time in Paradise. Like I said, very near and dear to my heart. At the same time, if I would have left a little sooner, I feel that maybe I would have gotten where I've been sooner, and who knows what I'd be doing now. So I would tell somebody, dive headfirst in, dive into everything, learn everything you can as early as you can, and don't think that you have all the time in the world. Time flies. And I never thought I would say it. Me and my dad just had a laugh about it the other day, because he always used to tell me, when you get older, like, you're not going to be able to take the time back. You're going to wish you were younger. And I was like, I'm ready to be old. I'm ready to be old. But the truth is, he was right. I wished that I would have really honed in on my like, you know, real youth. I mean, like, formative years, you know, when you're just becoming a teenager, all throughout like the beginning of college, and really like just dove in head first at that time, you know, because once it's gone, you can't get it back. You really can't. So that's what I would say.
Okay, well, thank you very much. You're marvelous.
You're welcome
and
very much.
sweeter than I remember.
Aw,
But
nice.
do you have a few minutes for some questions from the Roseville Rotarians?
Absolutely. If anyone finds me interesting enough to ask a question, I would love to answer it.
So if you have a question, if you could come back here, because we need to get it on 2 microphones for other people.
So you have to come here. You have to come here.
Couldn't hear Russell. He asked you to go to the back if you had a
Oh,
question.
so if you have a question, you have to come over and see Russell.
Hello. Thank you for that presentation. At what age did you know you had a voice that was special?
At what age did I know I had a voice? What?
That
I
was
didn't catch the
special.
last part.
That
There
was
was
special.
going to be a special gift.
Well, I appreciate you thinking that it's special, first of all. I could only really answer from my perspective in saying that I've been singing since about 4 years old, and I don't even know at that time if I cared if it was special or not. I just sang. And it probably didn't sound maybe all that special at that time. I don't know. But I think it was maybe during a time period. There was a season there when I lived in Chico, which is adjacent to Paradise, as I'm sure you all know. And I was going to school, and I was just hitting like all of these competition things that I could find out anywhere I could go. The Northern California Idol, Butte County Fair Idol. I think I did Chico State Idol. It was when I started to win all of those. It was like I would go in and I would sing, and I didn't have any expectation, but I would win, and I was like, oh, this is kind of a thing. Like, I might be able to really like do something with this. And it was fun, and I just really loved performing. It was during that time, I would say probably like 19, 20, 21, that I was really like, I could maybe do something with this. And it was actually concurrently enrolled in Butte College and Chico State, and I was working at the Arthur Shallow Center, or what was the Arthur Shallow Center at that time, with Bob Irvine being one of my former bosses. So that was a good time for me, like during those years, 18, 19, 20, 21, I would say, is when I really started to kind of think about this as a career instead of just something I, love to do.
Another question here. Amber, as you know, Carson Daly is host of The Voice. And just by coincidence, Tom here and I are playing golf with his brother tomorrow up in Lincoln. And he's a really
I'm
good
sorry,
golfer.
I can't hear anything he's saying.
Can you hear me now? All right, okay, here we go. I'll start over again. Carson's the host of The Voice, as you know. And his brother, Tom here, and I are playing golf tomorrow with him. He's a scratch golfer, almost, but we understand Carson's a really good golfer. But what's he like? Like, what was he like on the host? Did he interrelate with you singers as well as people like Blake and others?
I apologize. I still didn't hear any of that.
Russell, can you
I'm
repeat
sorry.
the question?
But I was watching you, and I believed every word you
All right.
said.
Well,
And I know it was just
all right.
amazing.
Just tell us
really
what
wanna
was
answer.
Carson Daly like on the show?
It's a sound issue, I think. What was Carson Daly like?
Do I have to get next to
Oh,
us? Okay.
to be honest, he was really funny. He was really charismatic. My dad is also very kind of that way, so they got along really, really well. And backstage, even while I was doing the blind audition, they were both cutting up and having jokes and all kinds of stuff. Carson he's very charismatic. He's a personality, which is probably why he does what he does. He was awesome. He was
cool.
good people, and he made it a point to say good job to all of the contestants, and he was in there giving his 2 cents too, and he definitely said that to me. He was excited, I think, especially when my family got excited when I got picked. So yeah.
Cool. Well, his brother's quieter, but also a good guy. Hey, thank you.
No.
Russell, translate for her, please.
Can't hear a word.
You said what? Oh, okay. Good to know. Good to know. No, I have not.
Moving forward. Do we have any last minute questions anybody want to ask before we wrap up with our guest speaker? Negative? All right, so Russell, you have to relay this message to her since she can't hear me. But Amber, thank you for joining us today. Thank you so much for your time and for singing the national anthem for us. I really appreciated that.
Thank you.
And in lieu of a speaker's gift, what we do is we donate a book to a local children's library. Usually we would have you sign it. Clearly that can't happen in this moment, but we'll write a nice note for you, maybe some music notes, and we'll make sure it's a musically related book. But thank you so much for your time.
Oh, that's awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Hold on. There we go. Did you have a last minute question? Oh.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Amber.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. And Katie, thank you for your introduction of her. I appreciate
on,
the
Amber.
research you did on that. All right.